Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone acts like you don't exist? Yet somehow they're always lurking in the background. They might act cold, distant, or indifferent when you're face to face, but behind the scenes, they're watching your every move. They pretend they've moved on, that you no longer matter to them, but their actions tell a completely different story. It's confusing, frustrating, and sometimes even hurtful. But here's the thing, their behavior isn't random. It's calculated. And today, we're diving deep into the psychology behind why people act like they don't care, while secretly keeping tabs on you. Let's start with a simple truth. If someone truly didn't care about you, they wouldn't be watching you. They wouldn't be checking your social media, asking about you, or keeping tabs on your life. The fact that they're still paying attention, even if it's from a distance, means something. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's intentional. People don't invest time and energy into things they don't value. They don't keep track of someone they've completely erased from their life. So, if they're still watching you, it's because you still matter to them in some way. But here's where it gets tricky. Their silence, their distance, their indifference. It's not a sign of strength. It's a strategy. They're playing a game, trying to see how you'll react. They want to appear cool, collected, and unbothered. But underneath that facade, they're waiting. Waiting for you to break first. Waiting for you to reach out, to show that you still care. To give them the validation they secretly crave. It's a power move, plain and simple. And if you're not careful, it can leave you feeling confused, insecure, and even questioning your own worth. But here's the good news. You don't have to play their game. You don't have to fall for their tactics. Today we're exposing the real reasons behind this behavior. We're going to break down why they act like you don't matter, while secretly keeping you in their world. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how you can take your power back. Because at the end of the day, your worth isn't determined by their actions, their silence, or their games. Your worth comes from within, and no one can take that away from you. Before we dive into the specifics, I want you to do something for me. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Their silence means nothing. I know my worth. Let it sink in, because this affirmation is your first step toward reclaiming your power. It's a reminder that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need their validation, their attention, or their approval to be worthy of love, respect, and happiness. Now let's talk about why they do this. Why do they act like they don't care, even when their actions prove otherwise? The answer lies in human psychology. People often use silence and distance as a way to maintain control. It's a defense mechanism, a way to protect themselves from vulnerability. By acting like they don't care, they create a sense of power and superiority. But here's the thing. True strength doesn't come from playing games or manipulating others. True strength comes from being authentic, from owning your feelings, and from having the courage to be vulnerable. So, why do they keep watching you? Because they're not ready to let go. Because they're still attached, even if they won't admit it. Because they're curious, maybe even a little jealous, about how you're moving on without them. But their actions, or lack thereof, speak volumes. If they truly cared, they wouldn't just be watching from the shadows. They'd be showing up, speaking up, and putting in the effort. Their silence is a choice, and it's one that says more about them than it does about you. As we go through this video, I want you to keep one thing in mind. You hold the power. Not them. Their silence, their games, their indifference. It's all just noise. What matters is how you respond. Will you let their behavior shake your confidence? Or will you stand firm in your worth? knowing that you deserve someone who shows up for you, not just someone who watches from a distance. So let's get started. Let's uncover the truth behind their behavior, and let's talk about how you can rise above it. Because you are stronger than their silence, more valuable than their games, and more powerful than their indifference. Let's begin. Number 1. They want you to feel forgotten. On the surface, they might act like you no longer exist. They might ignore your messages, avoid eye contact, or act completely indifferent when you're around. They want you to believe that you've been erased from their mind, that you no longer cross their thoughts, and that they've moved on without a second glance. But here's the truth. They're still watching. They're still checking your social media, asking mutual friends about you, and wondering what you were up to. Why? Because they don't actually want to move on. They just want you to believe that they have. This behavior is a classic power move. It's a psychological tactic designed to make you feel insecure, to make you question your worth, and ultimately, to make you chase them. If they can convince you that they don't care, maybe you'll be the one to break the silence. Maybe you'll reach out first, text them, or try to win them back. And if you do, they win. Because now they've got the validation they were secretly craving. They've confirmed that they still have power over you, that you still care, and that they can still influence your emotions. But here's the thing. Their behavior has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. It's not about your worth or your value. It's about their need for control. They're trying to manipulate the situation to their advantage, to keep you in a position where you're the one seeking their approval. And while it might feel like they hold all the cards, the reality is this. You have the power to change the game. How? By refusing to play. When you don't react, when you don't chase, and when you don't fall for their illusion, you take away their power. You show them that their tactics don't work on you, that you're not going to be swayed by their mind games. And that's when the tables turn. Suddenly, they're the ones left wondering why you're not reacting, why you're not chasing, and why you're not giving them the attention they so desperately want. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And in this situation, your thoughts should be focused on your growth, your peace, and your future, not their games. When you shift your focus away from them and toward yourself, you reclaim your power. You stop letting their behavior dictate your emotions, and you start taking control of your own narrative. So, what does this look like in practice? It means living your life unapologetically. It means posting on social media because you want to, not because you're trying to get their attention. It means spending time with friends, pursuing your passions, and focusing on your goals, not wasting energy wondering what they're thinking or why they're still watching you. It means refusing to let their silence or their indifference dictate your self-worth. And here's the best part. When you do this, you send a powerful message. You show them that you're not someone who can be manipulated or controlled. You show them that you're strong, confident, and secure in your worth. And that's something they can't take away from you. So, if you're dealing with someone who's trying to make you feel forgotten while secretly keeping tabs on you, remember this. Their behavior is a reflection of their insecurities, not your value. You don't need to chase someone who watches you from the shadows. You don't need to seek validation from someone who plays games instead of being honest about their feelings. And you certainly don't need to let their actions dictate your self-worth. Instead, drop this affirmation in the comments and say it to yourself every day. I refuse to chase someone who watches me from the shadows. Let it remind you that you deserve someone who shows up for you, who values you, and who isn't afraid to be honest about their feelings. Because at the end of the day, your worth isn't determined by their actions. It's determined by how you see yourself. And you are worthy of so much more than their games. Number 2. They can't handle the idea of you moving on first. On the surface, they might act like they're completely over you. They might pretend like the relationship, the connection, or the situation meant nothing to them. But deep down, the thought of you moving on before them eats them alive. It's not that they want you back. It's that they want to believe they had the upper hand. They want to believe that if anyone was going to be hurting, it would be you. But when they see you thriving, smiling, and living your life without them, it shakes their entire narrative. The psychology behind it: people often create stories in their heads to make sense of their experiences. In their version of the story, they're the ones in control. They're the ones who walked away. They're the ones who moved on. And in their mind, you're supposed to be the one who's still stuck, still missing them, still thinking about them. But when they see you standing tall, living your best life, and genuinely happy without them, it challenges everything they've told themselves. It forces them to confront the possibility that maybe they weren't as important to you as they thought. And that's a hard pill to swallow. This behavior isn't about love or care. It's about ego. They need to believe that they still hold space in your mind, that you still miss them, and that you're still affected by their absence. Because if you've truly let them go, if you've truly moved on, it means they've lost all control. It means they no longer have power over your emotions or your life. And for someone who thrives on control, that's a devastating realization. So what do? They watch, they lurk, they keep tabs on you, hoping to find some sign that you're not as happy as you seem. They're looking for cracks in your armor, for evidence that you're still struggling, still thinking about them. But when they don't find it, that's when the panic sets in. That's when they start to question their own worth, their own value, and their own place in your life. But here's the thing: their reaction says more about them than it does about you. Their inability to handle your happiness is a reflection of their own insecurities, not your worth. And your response? It should be one of strength, silence, and forward motion. As the ancient philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And in this situation, your reaction, or lack thereof, speaks volumes. When you choose silence, you show them that their games don't work on you. When you choose strength, you prove that you're unshaken by their behavior. And when you choose to move forward, you demonstrate that your life is no longer defined by their presence or their absence. You're living for yourself, not for them. So, if you're dealing with someone who can't handle the idea of you moving on first, remember this: you owe them nothing, not your attention, not your energy, and certainly not your time. Your focus should be on your growth, your happiness, and your future, not on their ego or their need for control. Drop this affirmation in the comments and say it to yourself every day. I owe them nothing, not my attention, not my energy, not my time. Let it remind you that your worth isn't determined by their approval or their validation. You are enough just as you are. And the best way to prove that? By living your life unapologetically, without looking back. Number 3, they're waiting for you to break first. This is one of the most common mind games people play in relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or even professional. They pull away, they go silent, they act indifferent, all to see how long you can hold out. It's a test, plain and simple. And the goal: to make you panic, to make you question yourself, and ultimately to make you reach out first. Because the moment you do, they win. They know they still have control over you. Here's how it works. When someone suddenly becomes distant or silent, it triggers a natural human response: fear of loss. We start to wonder what we did wrong, why they're pulling away, and whether we'll ever get back to where we were. This fear can be overwhelming, and it often leads us to do things we wouldn't normally do, like sending that "Are you okay?" text, or double texting when they don't respond, or even apologizing for things that aren't our fault. And that's exactly what they want. They want you to break first, to show that you're still invested, to give them the validation they secretly crave. But here's the thing: their silence isn't a sign of strength. It's a sign of insecurity. They're not pulling away because they're confident or indifferent. They're pulling away because they're testing you. They want to see how much power they still have over you, how much they can influence your emotions, and how much they can control the situation. And if you break, if you reach out first, they'll feel a temporary sense of victory. But if you don't, if you stay strong, stay silent, and move on, that's when the panic sets in. For them, this is where the power dynamic shifts. When you refuse to play their game, when you refuse to give them the reaction they're looking for, you take away their control. You show them that their tactics don't work on you, that you're not going to be manipulated, and that you're not going to chase someone who doesn't value you. And that's when they start to panic. Because now they're the ones left wondering why you're not reacting, why you're not chasing, and why you're not giving them the attention they so desperately want. The ancient philosopher Seneca once said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." And in this situation, the greatest remedy for their mind games is distance. When you create space between yourself and their behavior, you give yourself the clarity and perspective you need to see the situation for what it really is. You stop reacting out of fear or insecurity, and you start responding from a place of strength and self-respect. So, what does this look like in practice? It means resisting the urge to reach out, even when every fiber of your being is telling you to text them. It means focusing on your own life, your own goals, and your own happiness. Not wasting energy trying to figure out what they're thinking or why they're acting the way they are. It means reminding yourself that you deserve someone who communicates openly and honestly, not someone who plays games to test your loyalty or your patience. And here's the best part. When you do this, you send a powerful message. You show them that you're not someone who can be manipulated or controlled. You show them that you're strong, confident, and secure in your worth. And that's something they can't take away from you. So, if you're dealing with someone who's waiting for you to break first, remember this. Their silence is a test, but it's also an opportunity for you to show them and yourself that you're stronger than their games, that you're not going to be swayed by their tactics, and that you're not going to chase someone who doesn't value you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unshaken by their silence. I stand firm in my worth. Let it remind you that your worth isn't determined by their actions or their approval. You are enough, just as you are. And the best way to prove that? By staying strong, staying silent, and moving forward without looking back. Number 4. Their pride won't let them admit the truth. Pride is a powerful emotion, and for some people, it's more important than happiness, connection, or even love. They might want to reach out. They might want to check in. They might even want to ask how you've been. But their pride, it won't let them. Because to reach out would mean admitting they still care, admitting they miss you, admitting they were wrong, And for someone who values their ego above all else, that's unbearable. The psychology behind it. Pride often acts as a defense mechanism. It shields people from vulnerability, from the fear of rejection, and from the discomfort of admitting they made a mistake. But while pride might protect them in the short term, it also traps them. It keeps them stuck in a cycle of silence, distance, and pretense. They might tell themselves they're being strong, but in reality, they're just hiding behind a wall of ego. And every time they see you living your life without them, that wall cracks a little more. Think about it. If they truly didn't care, they wouldn't be watching you. They wouldn't be checking your social media, asking about you, or keeping tabs on your life. But they are. And that's the irony of pride. It forces them to stay connected to you in the most disconnected way possible. They can't admit they care, so they lurk in the shadows, hoping you'll make the first move, hoping you'll give them an excuse to break their silence. But when you don't, when you continue living your life unapologetically, their pride takes another hit. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And in this situation, you're doing exactly that. You're proving who you are, not through words, but through actions. You're showing them that you're strong, confident, and secure in your worth. You're demonstrating that you don't need their validation, their attention, or their approval to be happy. And that's a powerful message. So, what does this mean for you? It means you don't have to play into their pride. You don't have to reach out, you don't have to chase, and you certainly don't have to beg for their attention. Instead, you can focus on your own growth, your own happiness, and your own peace. You can let their pride be their problem, not yours. Because while they're stuck in their self-made prison of ego, you're free. Free to live your life, free to move forward, and free to find someone who values you enough to put their pride aside. And here's the thing, their pride isn't your responsibility. You don't owe them an explanation, an apology, or a second chance. What you owe yourself is the freedom to live authentically, without being weighed down by their games or their ego. So, if you're dealing with someone who's too proud to admit the truth, remember this. Their silence isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their limitations. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Their pride is their prison. I am free. Let it remind you that you're not responsible for their ego or their choices. You're responsible for your own happiness, your own growth, and your own peace. And the best way to honor that? By living your life unapologetically, without looking back. Number 5. They thought you would always be there. Now they're unsure. This is a common dynamic in relationships where one person takes the other for granted. They assume, consciously or unconsciously, that no matter what happens, you'll always be there. That you'll always care. That you'll always be an option, waiting in the background for them to come back. But when you finally walk away, when you finally decide to put yourself first, that's when the reality hits them. They no longer know where they stand with you. And that uncertainty, it's driving them crazy, the psychology behind it. People often take for granted what feels constant in their lives. They assume that because you've always been there, you always will be. They convince themselves that they can come and go as they please, that they can treat you however they want, and that you'll still be there when they're ready. But when you break that pattern, when you show them that you're not willing to be their backup plan, that's when they start to panic. Suddenly, they're not so sure of themselves anymore. Suddenly, they're the ones left wondering if they've lost you for good. This is why they're watching you. They're looking for clues, for signs, for anything that will tell them where they stand. They need to know if you've really let go, if you've really moved forward, and if they've really lost you. But here's the thing. Their uncertainty isn't your problem. It's theirs. And while they're stuck in this cycle of doubt and hesitation, you're out there living your life. You're moving forward, growing and thriving without them. The ancient philosopher Seneca once said, "While we wait for life, life passes." And that's exactly what's happening here. While they're waiting, watching and wondering, you're living. You're taking control of your own narrative, and you're showing them that you're not someone who can be taken for granted. You're not an option, a backup plan, or a safety net. You're the prize. And the sooner they realize that, the better. But even if they don't, it doesn't matter. Because you already know your worth. So, what does this mean for you? It means you don't have to give them the answers they're looking for. You don't have to reassure them, comfort them, or explain yourself to them. Instead, you can focus on your own growth, your own happiness, and your own future. You can let their uncertainty be their problem, not yours. Because while they're stuck in their cycle of doubt, you're out there creating a life that doesn't revolve around them. And here's the best part. When you live your life unapologetically, you send a powerful message. You show them that you're not someone who can be taken for granted. You show them that you're strong, confident, and secure in your worth. And that's something they can't take away from you. So if you're dealing with someone who thought you'd always be there, but now they're unsure, remember this: their uncertainty is a reflection of their choices, not your value. You were never an option. You were always the prize. And the best way to prove that? By living your life like the prize you are. Let's talk about the sixth and final reason why someone might act like they don't care, while still keeping tabs on you. They're secretly hoping you'll reach out first. Even if they act indifferent, even if they pretend not to care, even if they've built up walls of silence, deep down, they're still hoping. Hoping you'll send that one last message. Hoping you'll give them the closure they never gave you. Hoping you'll be the one to make things easier for them. But here's the truth. You won't. Because you know better. You know that if they truly cared, they wouldn't just be watching from the shadows. They'd be showing up. They'd be speaking. They'd be putting in the effort. Their silence is a choice. And your silence? It's the answer. This behavior is rooted in a desire for control and convenience. They want you to do the emotional heavy lifting. They want you to be the one to break the silence, to initiate the conversation, to give them the reassurance they're too afraid to ask for. But here's the thing. You don't owe them that. You don't owe them your time, your energy, or your emotional labor. If they truly cared, they'd be the ones reaching out. They'd be the ones showing up. They'd be the ones proving that you matter to them, but they're not, and that tells you everything you need to know. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And in this situation, that's exactly what you're doing. You're not playing their games. You're not chasing their validation. You're not giving them the reaction they're looking for. Instead, you're focusing on yourself. You're focusing on your growth, your happiness, and your future. And in doing so, you've become something they can't touch anymore. You've become someone who's no longer defined by their actions or their silence. So, what does this look like in practice? It means letting go of the past. It means refusing to look back, to wonder what could have been, or to dwell on what they're doing. It means focusing on the present and the future, on the life you're building, the goals you're pursuing, and the happiness you're creating. It means understanding that their silence isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their choices. And your silence? It's a reflection of your strength. You hold the power now. They watch because they still care. They act indifferent because they don't want you to know. But here's the truth. None of it matters. What matters is you, your growth, your strength, your peace. Let them stay silent. Let them lurk. Let them sit with their choices. Because your power, it was never in their hands to begin with. This journey isn't about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your worth, your confidence, and your life. Every step you take forward is a reminder that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need their validation, their attention, or their approval to be happy. You are the author of your own story, and no one else gets to hold the pen. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And always remember, your silence speaks louder than their words. Keep moving forward. Keep growing. Keep shining. The best is yet to come.